Hello friends, welcome to Coding Garden. I am CJ, and you've arrived at my new setup. Yeah, let me show it to you. I just had this idea for putting this as the getting started screen, right before the stream started. The camera's laggy. What's up, Terrawat? It's been a while since you've been here. Check, check. 1, 2. Hello? Check, check. Check, check. Test, test. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I've shown you this view before. I've shown you... it's fine. Okay, cool. I've shown you this view before, but I've been setting up my studio and cleaning up, and I got it to a point where when I put a camera over there, things look decent. You can count the frames manually? Stop it. Refresh your page, Terrawat. But yeah, this is my studio. I got baked beans. I've got keyboards. Right here is my microphone. Here's my camera. But I thought it would be interesting to have this as the getting started screen, because you can actually see me. You can see me doing things. I don't know. Let's get into it. Yeah, that is a DeWalt. See, that's the other fun thing, is when I switch to this scene, you can point things out. Yeah. Also, you can see my full body, so I suck my gut in a little bit when I come from around the desk. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about what we're going to do today. First of all, it's Saturday. Let's address that. It's not Friday. It's Saturday, and my power went out yesterday while I was streaming. So we're gonna stream today and basically make up the Friday stream that didn't happen yesterday. We were live for like an hour. We wrote like 2 lines of code, and then my power went out. So yeah. It was a citywide issue, so I there's nothing that I could have done aside from having solar panels and a battery backup, which is probably the next thing that I'm gonna do. Yeah, I think so. That's the plan, Mark Boots. Is like I want to put cameras everywhere and kind of just make, like, this is my little maker space, you know. So whenever I'm live, I can do soldering and stuff over there, arts and crafts over there. You can't see it, but there's actually like my office set up. So I don't usually work right here. I usually just stream right here, but I have a setup over there with some monitors that I usually work from. I have a soldering iron that I just found on Amazon. It's nothing special. Nothing special. Yeah, so that on-air sign, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun. You can pick out all the little things in the image, but the on-air sign, my partner made for me. Well, not made for me. She gave me the on-air sign and a bunch of electronic components as either a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. And she was like, here, make something out of it. And I never made anything out of it, so that's my fault. But I technically could hook it up to like a Raspberry Pi Mini, so that it actually lights up when I am actually live. The floor is concrete with spray paint all over it. I realize the more I stay on this scene, the more you all are going to pick it apart. But look, you can see my... It's concrete, and it has various paints on it from the previous owner of this house. Yeah, and that's another thing somebody pointed out, is my desk is flipped around, and I did that so that way I have like 2 standing areas. So like this is where I do like can do like top down. I've got this camera, so I can do like top down stuff. But if I have the curved thingy, then I can't really do that, and the curved thingy gets in the way of the blue screen. Yeah. Yeah, and then that carpet is on top of a wire. Okay, we're gonna stop tearing apart the scene. And actually, I mean, okay, we'll keep talking about it because it's fun. I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna get some blue paint. And so you can see that the walls are like this grayish color, but I'm gonna paint them blue so that way they'll be chroma keyed out, and then I can have an even wider area that's chroma keyed. So, yeah. I mean, somebody mentioned about the light. You technically don't need this much light. I just want my blue screen to be decent. Like, I think I'm pretty well segmented without like blue edges and stuff like that. But once I start turning off lights, actually I can turn that one off and it's still fine. I can turn that one off. You can see that the screen doesn't get lit up. Yeah, there's a window, and it has a blanket in it. That's another thing that I need to clear up. There's a blanket in that window. I'm gonna get like a nice pull down blind for it. Yeah, I'll do. I want to do electronic streams eventually, like because I have my IRL backpack that I'm building that involves a little bit of soldering and stuff, and then I've got like various Arduinos and stuff. Yeah, it would be fun to do because I did a intro to C programming in Arduino like 2 years ago. So yeah. Yesterday my power went out. Okay, but let's get into it because I'm only going to be live for another like 2.5 hours. So yeah, I knew somebody was going to ask. I'll show one last thing. I'm going to turn, so this is what you're looking at is, imagine half of the basement. The other half of the basement is where I make music. And so it's kind of like a music studio, sort of. Let me turn that camera on and then I can show it to you. I need to put this on like a hotkey so I can blur it. Yeah, that one. Yeah, the drop game should definitely be on the screen. Let's find it. It is a coding garden. There. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to show you the music area. You can have a garden with with non-natural light, with completely artificial light. I think it's this camera. Yeah. right, check this out. Here. Okay, so I have a drum set over there. The left-hand side is where my music partner, Laud, hangs out. He plays the synths and the MPC. He's got a little looper machine. And then I play guitar and then a little bit of synth. So you can see my my keyboard over there. Here, I'll walk over there so you know that it's real. Yeah. So yeah, that's that, and there's like 10 cameras in my basement right now. Let me show you this is the project where I use that music studio. It's a project called Probably Happening, and we do improvised live looping. All of the cameras are wired. All of them are USB. I've played around with IP cameras, but the lag is just like a little bit too much. But this is where we do that. You can see, like, I do camera switching and stuff while we're playing, and I also have music visualizations. So that's a thing. But the hope is eventually we can have a Coding Garden stream where we do hardware stuff over there. We make some music over there. We write the code right here. That's eventually what could be fun. And then once we get the IRL backpack going, we could do IRL streams and then come back to the studio. I don't know. Yeah, and then I mentioned it earlier, but the one spot that you don't see is where that green chair is. And that's where where I work when I'm not streaming. Yeah. All right, let's write some code. This was fun, and yeah, this was fun. Does it get hot in there? No, it doesn't. Actually, it gets cold because it's a basement. But I'll show you. The types of lights that I have are actually cool to the touch, and they're called corncob lights. Okay, it's not cool at the bottom because that's metal. But it's a little light bulb that has a bunch of LED. You can't even see it on there, but it has a bunch of LEDs on it. It's like surrounded with LEDs. And so this barely puts off any heat at all. Like I'm literally, you could not be holding a light that's been on for an hour. If it were like, what do you call those lights? Compact fluorescent light, or even just like a regular light bulb. So these lights are great, and they're not hot at all. But each one of my lights you see has one of those corncob lights inside of it. Okay, excuse me. That is blue fabric. Not that. I'll show you this, and then let me show you this without the chroma key. It's just a big old blue sheet, and then some blue tape. Okay. We're gonna do the focus modes. I'm also gonna, somebody highlighted a message that I missed. I'll look at that, and then we'll write some code. Yeah, and I agree. I think the help forum is really working out. First of all, people are actively answering questions. So if you have code questions that are unrelated to what we're doing, join the Discord. Lots of really smart people there that will be happy to answer your questions. But also, it makes it so much easier to see if a question has been answered. So yeah. Was this it? Can I get your thoughts on the question I asked on Discord general help? Yes, but not now. I'll try to respond. I'll try to respond on Discord. So yeah. All right. Let's get going. I am just going to straight up focus mode. and I'll tell you all about what we're working on. So this is a project called Fresh Spots. We typically work on it every Friday, but the stream went down yesterday, so we didn't get to code on it. But if you take a look at the playlist on YouTube, this is episode 12, stream number 12, really like 12 and a half, because we did an hour of a stream yesterday, where we've been working on this app. And the idea is it's an app where users can create and share lists of places to visit. And we're building it using a technology or a framework called Fresh, which is a next-gen web framework. And this works on top of Deno, which is a runtime for JavaScript and TypeScript. Deno is the word node with the letters rearranged, and it was created by the same creator of Node.js, Ryan Dahl, I think his name is. But it's been out for a few years. It's getting faster. It's getting more support for more Node and NPM stuff, and we're just trying it out. So ultimately, building this app has been more of an exploration of the Deno ecosystem and an exploration of Fresh, and an exploration of like what libraries can we use to do all the things we're used to doing when we're building full stack apps. Because if I were building this using technologies that I know, we could finish it in like two to three streams max. But if you go back and watch some of the older streams, it's really just a lot of figuring out how to do things with the libraries that are available, because it's not one for one for what you do in the Node.js world. So we've had to figure some stuff out. Yeah. I used to call it Deno, and I think the creator called it Deno too. And I want to say that's why I called it Deno, is because the creator, in his initial talk, called it Deno. But it's like Dino the dinosaur from the Flintstones. If anyone remembers that. Dino from the Flintstones. See, that's Deno. And that is very much inspiration for the logo. So now I just say Deno. Yeah. Okay. So that's the app. Users can sign in. Right now we have a social auth with Discord, but we're going to add Twitch and GitHub and Google. So you can log in with Discord. Then once you're logged in, you can see your lists. Then you can go in and edit a list. So for example, I'm creating a list called Best Parks in Denver, a list of the top parks to visit in Denver. And then if I go into that, I can see all of the parks on the map. And then what we want to work on today is I want to be able to go in and edit the title, the description, and potentially move the marker around as well. You can see that the marker is moving, but the original marker isn't moving. That's something we're going to have to fix. And then also, this little form here is repurposed. So if I want to add a new spot to this list, I don't know, over there. This pops up, and if I click save, that makes a post request to my backend, which is great. But what I want is whenever I'm editing, that needs to make a put request. It needs to replace or update the existing one. And that is not yet working. So we're going to get that working today. Essentially, I'll be able to edit. We're going to change this form up so that the state changes. If it's a new one, I'll make the button say create. If it's an old one, I'll make it say like update or save. And then also we can have a button for delete, which would actually remove that spot from your list. And then we also need a way to edit the title and description of the list itself. So that's what we're going to work on today. And then also making it so that we can share this list. Yeah, so we need and that's the other thing, we need a cancel button, because if I click there, now I'm basically in edit mode for this spot. And if I click around, I'm technically moving the spot that I'm currently editing. But if I click over here, then if I had changes, I would have lost those changes. So I need a button that says like cancel, and if I click over here, I need to prevent them from a user from doing that. If I click over here, I need a dialog that says like, are you sure you want to do that? You have unsaved changes, that kind of thing. But then lastly, we want to be able to share this list. So right now, if somebody else were to go to this URL on the deployed site, they would just get an unauthorized error. So we need to have a public view page where if somebody knows the list ID or the slug, they can see this list. And then also we want to be able to show the descriptions in the list as well. But that's what we're working on today. It is day 12. And here we go. Let's get into it. You all getting an ad right now? I'll pause for a second. The pre-roll is off. Wait, can I just... It says pre-rolls are off and I cannot run an ad because I ran an ad too recently. I mean, I didn't run an ad. The ads are automatically running. How are you all doing? How are you all doing though? It's Saturday. It's Saturday. Yeah, I haven't streamed on the weekend in a very long time. You're getting 4 ads? Yeah, apparently you don't have your sub badge, Pablo. But let's get into it. So this is what we started on last time. When I go into a list, we got this working so that if I click here, it populates the form. But we need some other state. We need to know whether or not this is a new spot or an existing spot that they're editing, because that way we need to change the buttons that are displayed. And Shirkum, thank you very much for that Prime resub. Appreciate you. I guess the other thing is I want to look at what happens whenever we add, like whenever we're creating a spot. So like if I'm on the map and then I click on the map to add a new spot, let's see where that is here. So when I click on the map, that technically creates a new spot, and the user ID is -1, and I guess, do we have a type on this? I guess it's a spot without an ID. So if we look at how we're setting this and sharing this data, editing spot is of type spot, and if I go to that, we can see it's a Zod object. I want it to optionally have an ID, because if it has an ID, then that means it already is existing. But if it doesn't have an ID, then that means we're creating a new one. So if I look at that type for the spot here, I want to give it an ID property, which is a number, but is optional. And that should make it so that when we're creating a new spot, it doesn't have an ID yet because it hasn't been saved to the database, but if we're editing an existing one, ID should not be undefined. So we can do something like or on the form, if the editing spot has a ID, then we know that it's a save rather than a create. So first of all, let's make that button say create, or say add spot, like this. But now we're gonna have a conditional render. So we'll say editing spot dot value. If that has an ID, then we want to show a button that says save or update. Otherwise, if it doesn't have an ID, then we show a button that says add. And I want this to be a ternary. So if ID has a value, show this. If it doesn't have a value, show that. And actually, we can do, we can put the container wrapping this conditional. We'll do update spot. Cool. So if it has an ID, it says update. If it doesn't have an ID, it says add, and then update. Let's make this button warning. No, that'll be red. Yeah, no, that'll be yellow. Should be yellow. Okay, let's see what happens. So if I click on Sloan's Lake, it says update, and it's yellow. But if I click for here, first of all, I shouldn't be able to do that. So if I click, actually, I guess technically, if I'm editing the spot and I click around, then that means I'm actually updating the location of that spot. Because let's say I put it right there, but I actually want it to be like right there. I should move the existing one. Yeah, we need to work on the marker color, because that's the other thing. Like, if I'm editing the marker, then I should make this red, or make it very clear that this marker is the one that we're editing, and all of the other markers are saved markers. But the other thing is I can also have a cancel button. Maybe if I do button danger, if I say cancel, now if I'm editing a spot, I should be able to click this button, and then, oh, it made it a submit button. I do not want that. Or I need to at least manage what happens when the button is clicked. So this button is a submit button. Let's take a quick stretch. Yeah, I agree. So red, a little bit too much. Also, there should be a cancel button no matter what. I agree with that. Because if you're creating the spot, maybe you just want to stop creating. So, and then maybe cancel is warning and update is primary. I'm using Bootstrap classes. Actually, technically, update I think can be green. That's fine. That's fine by me. So if I click this, that would I need to add the logic that would actually update it. But if I click cancel, that should cancel it. And I think if I do type button instead of type submit, that'll prevent the form from being submitted. Let's see. Yeah, so now the form isn't submitted, but I can add a custom click handler that makes it so that we're not editing anything anymore. Cool. The other thing is I want some spacing around this entire form, so let's just put a class on it. And I'm going to say that this is margin top 1 and margin bottom 1. So I'm using Bootstrap, but I also have access to Tailwind classes. Did that do anything? Let's see. Gap? Oh, I think, yeah, okay, it did something, but I want even more. Let's do like 3 and 3. That's better. So now there's some spacing between the buttons and the list itself. I mean, I want the bottom should have even more spacing. What is the gap property? Is that going to be like a Tailwind class? Yeah, that's a good amount of spacing. And then the buttons need spacing on them as well. So the button container should have some spacing on the top. And then the buttons themselves should have, like the cancel button should have some right margin so that it spaces itself from the button on the right. Let's see. And Anonymous, thank you very much for the gift. Appreciate that. And Pablo, thank you very much for the resub. Look at this. Look what a little bit of spacing does. It really makes our UI just a little bit better. A little bit better. Oh, okay, so because this area is flex, I see what you're saying. We could technically do justify end and then give it like a flex gap. And then we don't need this margin right. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So that gap, I think, is working. That's good. The gap is working, but we still want some margin top. We wanted margin top on the button container. Cool. On Point is asking, what's my process while building the app? There is no process. I mean, we have specific features we're trying to implement, but we often get sidetracked by setup, configuration, picking libraries, stuff like that. So this app doesn't really have a process. I've talked about it like in previous episodes. We could more formally plan this project and actually create like user stories and stuff like that. But up until this point, this has kind of just been stream of conscious development every Friday for the past 2 months. Yeah, and I get sidetracked by chat a lot. I don't know. This form is looking good though. Let's hook up this cancel button. This will just say cancel. We'll just have a function called cancel. We technically could do it inline though, but here's the issue: is like technically when I click cancel, I don't want to immediately lose all of the user's changes, right? Because have you ever been working in a form on some website and then you accidentally click cancel when you actually had changes that you wanted to save? That is bad. Like that's like the worst user experience where you're editing, you accidentally click cancel, and now you lost all of your changes. So technically, I should almost have like a confirm cancel button. Like you click cancel and then it says, "Are you sure?" And you have to click it again if you really want to cancel. Or we could pop up a dialogue. I've already talked about it before. I don't really like dialogues. Hold the button for 1 second. That's another thing, but I don't know how, like, that's, it's interesting, but it's not like a common UI pattern. Because, yeah, you could technically hold, and then you see a progress bar, and then it cancels. It's interesting. Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's just see what this looks like. We will create some internal form state. We already have a useState hook. And so on the component, let's create a little state that says is canceling. And we have set is canceling. Starts off as false. And then when you click that cancel button, we are going to set is canceling to true. And then we will show this div above it if is canceling is true. So if is canceling is true, then we want to show this. Something like a. Bear with me. I'll in a second. You'll see what I was getting at. Are you sure you want to cancel? And actually, I'll make that an alert. In a second, I'll make that an alert. And then we have a button that says yes. And then this will be danger. And then we'll have no, which will be success. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But now that we do this, when we click cancel, it says, boom, are you sure you want to cancel? And then we have to say yes or no. And we could also do, like, if is canceling is true, then don't show the update button. We have to wait for them to... well, I guess technically I could put this in a ternary. So I could say... if is canceling is true, then show the cancel dialog. Otherwise, show this. Wait, do I have a syntax error? I do have a syntax error somewhere. Because this needs a thing. Yeah. I think. Oh man, there's some serious syntax error. Taffman, thank you very much for that, Prime. So I would argue that a dialogue isn't better because a dialogue obscures the UI. I don't know. But let me get it working, and then we can argue about whether this is good or not. So that looks good. So I do have a nested ternary. The nested ternary. Oh, I forgot the div. This isn't a that. This is that, I think. And then we have the closing div. We have that ternary, and then that div goes away. All right, that's the winner. Okay, so we click here. We click cancel, and it's like, are you sure you want to cancel? And then I can click no or yes. If I click yes, it clears it. If I click no, it just goes back to what it was before. Now, people were saying this should be a dialogue. Maybe? I guess also have to think about like the accessibility aspect of it. Like, if someone is using this app using a screen reader, what happens when buttons just disappear and new buttons reappear? I guess technically we would like try to focus this so that this is the thing that gets read out after they click cancel. But let's adjust the style. So first of all, I want an alert box for this. Are you sure you want to cancel? And I think we have an alert component. Not that. If we go to components, don't we have a components directory? We do. Components/alert. And Mr. Zerny, thank you very much for that sub. Cool. So we have the alert component, and then I think alert just takes in a message. So right here, you could say alert, and then we have message is that. Cool. AutoMagic says, to be honest, I don't really, I don't like to see edit, delete, or add functionality inline. I would like to see these functionalities opening a pop-up or a dialog, which would come from the right side of the screen to make sure I am focusing on what I need to do. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I don't like that. Like, I think it comes down to personal preference, and I think the other thing to think about is, like, do you like that because of the animations? Like, is it cool to have a fly out animation and stuff like that? Or do you like it because it's useful to the user? Like, it's like that makes more sense from a user perspective. Like, my argument for this is what the user is focused on. Like, they literally just clicked that cancel button. So if you click the cancel button and then see a dialogue, now their focus has to change. Whereas if they click cancel and you're doing it right in line, their focus is like right on what's happening. And thank you for the gift, Mr. Cerny. Much appreciated. So, like, I mean, that's my argument, is like we want to do it all in the same spot that the user is focused on right now. Now, I think also what AutoMagic was saying was, well, you don't even have like the save or update button over here. There's like all of that is a separate section of the app that has like the sliding bar or a sliding sidebar. I think that's kind of what they were saying. So like if the option there would be if I click cancel, then we see a dialog that says, are you sure? And I guess also if I click save or update, we technically don't really even want a confirmation for update though. That just instantly updates. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about Shark Turnup. So like instead of changing all of this, we could just change it in line to say, are you sure? And then technically we could leave it as are you sure until they click it, or like you said, like wait 5 seconds and then change it back to cancel. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go with this. And I'm going to argue that from a user perspective, this is less jarring. And I've never heard of Sweet Alert. I see you've been mentioning it. A 1 second timeout. You click cancel. Are you sure? And then it disappears if you don't click it within a second. Oops, something went wrong. Oh, that's a normal alert versus... I see. Yeah, it's still a dialogue. It's still a dialogue. All right. I guess also one of the issues right now is like our alert box automatically has some like margin. Let's see what that margin is and let's just copy it so that the buttons line up. So if we look at components, alert. Oh, I forgot this was a this was a Tailwind alert box. It has margin 4 on it. Which tells me that instead of margin top 3, we just do a margin 4, and then the buttons should line up. Let's see. Yeah, now that yes and no button line up. Now, here's another thing. Should the yes button be on the left, or should the yes button be on the right? I think it should be on the yes. So because English speakers read from left to right, left to right means that like this is the ultimate option, yes, and so that's on the right hand side, and it also like flows. Let me hook these up. So right now, when you click these buttons, I'm just gonna default to set canceling to false. Make it random. Keep the user guessing. Are you sure where to cancel? No. Are you sure where to cancel? Yes. So that's my idea there, is when you click cancel, now if everything is moving towards the right, then if they really did want to cancel, then that's why they would click that. The other thing is like coloring. So, well, first of all, I actually don't know if this red and green color are colorblind friendly. I do have a friend that's red-green colorblind. Maybe this has enough contrast, but that's why I'm making yes red instead of green, because it's like if you click yes, you're technically discarding all of your changes. Though, yeah, like normally yes is green, red is no. If we talk about like this is what I want to do versus this is what I don't want to do. However, in this scenario, if you click yes, you're losing your changes, which is why I think it should be red. And the other issue, or the other thing about that is, even if someone gets confused and like, oh yes, please do it, and they click no because they're going by color, they haven't lost anything. They've just, oh, I need to click that again, and then yes, be really sure that I want to click yes. Make no yellow to match the cancel button. I like that, Veeb. So basically, when you clicked cancel, you were trying to do the cancel thing. And so when this pops up, yes should actually be the same color as the cancel button. Let's try this. Cancel. Huh? And otherwise you click no. The She-Boss, thank you very much for that gift. Are you sure what you want to cancel? I like yes and no. No should be gray, not red. Not opposed to it. Let's look at the Bootstrap docs and see what other colors. Oh, we have light. If I just do a button light, does that give us gray? I like that. This is better. We're arriving at a pretty decent UI here. Yeah, and I think some people that were coming in, they're like, why aren't you just using a dialogue? My thought is dialogues are jarring for you. I don't like dialogues in the UIs that I use. I try not to put dialogues in the UIs that I build. Dialogues are completely separate. Like if a user does something over here, I don't want to have to shift my focus somewhere else. That's my main reasoning for putting it in line versus a dialogue. But what if I reword the cancel button to confirm on is canceling? So I thought about that, and so like instead of changing everything, it just says you click cancel and then you click confirm. But then we need like a set timeout to change it back to cancel after a few seconds or something like that. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I was thinking too, Acid Spark. Something like, yes, discard my changes. No. Go back. Or no, That's a lot of text, though. A pop-up like this? Let's see. I like that, but it would take some custom JavaScript, because I'm using just straight Bootstrap, so it would take a bit more if I wanted to do something like this. Basically, this is like a poor man's version of that, because we don't have a dialogue, like an inline dialogue. Yeah. Isn't the purpose of the confirm cancel to purely if they did it accidentally, meaning their focus is elsewhere? Yeah, no, exactly. That's the point. Or like you accidentally click this when you didn't mean to. That's why we have the confirm, ultimately. You would gladly lose all of those changes? Is go back the right text for that? Are you sure you want to cancel? You will lose any unsaved changes. Something like that. An outline button for go back? That could be cool. If we did, let's see how to do that with Bootstrap. Button outline light. It's almost like I'm purposefully talking about this for a long time because I'm like procrastinating. Type remove to delete. I kind of like that too. Popovers exist, but you need custom JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah, so I've thought about renaming the button. The only issue is then when do I change it back to a cancel button? After 10 seconds? After 5 seconds? Do I just leave it as, like, are you sure? Or confirm? I do like shifting everything. Yeah. A full screen confirmation, yeah. White text on the gray background. Oh. I don't remember what that looked like. I guess it looked like this. Yeah, there's not much contrast there. Are you not sure you don't want to cancel the confirmation? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could, so that's the thing. I could write JavaScript, but I don't want to write a custom dialogue component. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with this design. I like this. I mean, I think the wording, like, I don't know if I like the go back wording. Like, what's another, what else could we put here? Return. But I don't want them to think that we're going to change the page that they're on. Like, keep changes. Keep changes. Because it's either discard changes or keep changes. And if you keep the changes, you're technically, yeah. Uncancel. Cancel the cancel. All right. Yeah, that's the other thing you could do with the UI is you A/B test. You show one UI to one person and one UI to another person. All right. Apparently, people are getting ads again. Everyone type pause champ. I think it's pause champ. Let's see if I do this right. Yeah, pause champ. Make the casing and the buttons consistent for optimal procrastination. I like that. And Calm Conqueror, thank you very much for that gifted sub. Are the ads over? Okay. I like this UI. I think the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to target all buttons globally and make their text uppercase just for consistency. Because right now I know I'm like, sometimes it's uppercase, sometimes it's lowercase. So we do have a global CSS that gets loaded onto every page. And I'm going to just directly target the Bootstrap button class and say text transform uppercase. And I don't know why I'm not getting autocomplete in that file, but that should target every button everywhere and make it all uppercase. It does, like that. Makes it a little more consistent. Okay. Yeah. Now, let's even think about what we were doing here. So, yeah. Now let's make it actually work. So if I click discard changes, now instead of just hiding that UI, I need to actually discard the changes. So, right here, we can just set the editing spot value to null. Should work anyways. So I click this, I click cancel, I said, yes, please discard. Then the form completely disappears. Or let's say I'm trying to add a new spot right here. And I say some stuff, and then I click cancel, discard that changes, that spot just disappears. And that's what I want. Because you might have clicked accidentally and like, oh, I don't want that. And then it disappears. Okay. The other thing is, now we have, oh, wait. Cool. When I click a spot, though, it's no longer setting the editing spot. So let's fix that. Yeah, you're totally right. These need to be these should have cursor pointer on them. But let's look at the sidebar, because for whatever reason, when I click an item, oh, and then the other thing is when I cancel, I need to remove any unsaved changes. So I need to say unsaved changes is false. Okay. Am I resetting is canceling? I'm not either. So you're totally right. I need to set is canceling to false and remove the spot and say we don't have unsaved changes. There's multiple resets that need to happen. This should fix it. So if I click City Park, I click cancel, great. That should allow me to add a new spot. I could add it or cancel. But then if I click Wash Park, I want to be able to edit it as well. Okay. Good. Good. Let's make it cursor pointer. That should be pretty easy. So that's in the sidebar on each individual list item. Why is this complaining? I see. Really, I need to TS ignore this, but we'll leave it. Yeah, I don't think the sidebar has a fixed width. Well, it does say width 160, but you do see it flash when the page loads. Show. Yeah. Does anyone know the Tailwind class for point? Is that it? Cursor pointer? Is this Tailwind? It is. It's just pointer? or cursor pointer. So what happens when you click another list item while in edit mode? It changes it. However, what should happen is if I start editing like this, and now I click on another one, the form shouldn't move at all. So we shouldn't move if there are unsaved changes. And technically, we should get rid of cursor pointer if there are unsaved changes. Let me do something like this. Quick stretch. Yeah, scale on hover could be good too. We really are like doing a lot of UI tweaks when in actuality, like most of the UI is fine. It's good enough. So if there are unsaved changes, if there are not unsaved changes, then give it cursor pointer. Otherwise, you can't click on it. I guess otherwise, we could do what's the cursor no, like the circle with the line through it. Let's pull up the tailwind cursor ban. Cool. That should do something. All right, see you later, Shark Turnip. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so right now I can click on these. Let's say I go to Wash Park. Because I don't have any unsaved changes, I can actually click on something else, and that's just fine. But if I make changes, then I cannot click on these. Cursor ban didn't work. Cursor no drop. No drop. No drop? Cool. Ultimately, that will change the cursor. But now if I click cancel and discard those changes, then I can click on something else. Cool. Let's just confirm the cursor no drop. Yeah. And so now, because I've made changes, it tells me, hey, you can't click because you have unsaved changes. Cursor not allowed? Let's look at, I mean, the cursor no drop seemed like it was good. Cursor not allowed. What's the difference between cursor not allowed and cursor no drop? So there's that one. And they're the same thing. They're the same thing, right? No cursor, no cursor. Okay. Well, I'll leave that open because we'll probably use it. Cool. I wonder, like, the other thing we could do is if there are unsaved changes, give an outline to the form. That could be interesting. So that way there's more of a visual indicator. Like this, like a card like this that has an outline on it. Let's see. Border warning. So if the form has unsaved changes, so if we look on the form here, we'll add this class. Let's see. I don't know if I have to give it a class card or if I can just do border warning. So if unsaved changes is true, then we want border warning. Otherwise, we don't want a border at all. I guess we could do border light. Yeah, we'll do border light. Okay, we're here. I don't see a border. I'm editing. I don't see a border either. So I think I might need to make it a card to give it a border. Yeah, card. And then mean, I want a little bit of padding too, because it's like right up against the border. Like this. You're right. It is making the with border and padding, it's making it bigger. What's up, Enzo? Welcome in. Yeah, we're still in pre-act right now. Yeah, I don't like this the fact that the width of the sidebar is changing. But what's nice is, check this out. The moment I start typing, we see that it is yellow. And I guess technically, I was going to say we don't have to show the cancel button unless there are actually changes. But we do want the cancel button because you might want to just close the dialog, and that's how you close the dialog. But also, did we handle that? So if I click the cancel button and there were no changes to be saved, just cancel. Yeah, so I can say if no, this would actually be handled on the other one. So if we click cancel and there are no unsaved changes, if there are no unsaved changes, just set it to null. Otherwise, if there are unsaved changes, then we want this whole dialog thing. And I think I just do editing spot.value is null. Here we go. So, okay. There are no changes. If I could click cancel, immediately cancel. There's no need to confirm because there aren't any unsaved changes. But if I make changes, now when I click cancel, it's like, yes, are you sure you want to do that? All right, let's figure out what the width is when we do this. And I'm going to set this to the width all the time. How big does it get? Oh, is it like a percentage of the UI? You know what it is? I think it's the parent flexbox. This thing could have been done in its own flow. It's true. I mean, like a lot of user interfaces have a flowchart like that. Like, there's so many states here, right? If there are no unsaved changes when you click the button, we're done. If there are unsaved changes when you click the button, we need to confirm. And then once you've confirmed, then we, yeah. So if we look at the parent, so the parent is, I think, just called dashboard. Dashboard lists edit here. We can see there is a flexbox with a sidebar and the map. I believe the map has like flex 1 so that it takes up the whole area. Flex grow. It has flex grow. I think what that means is for the sidebar, we need to give it a specific width, which I thought we did. W160, is that like min width 160? What does W160 give us in Tailwind? That's not a thing. Apparently width 160 is not a thing. I think I might have had to done it like this. Yeah. Let's go W-36. Yeah, we're using Tailwind with Bootstrap, which I don't think is a horrible combination. All right, so now it's a fixed width. That's great. We want it to be double that. So like almost 300. W-80. Not big enough. 96. Yeah. So we could do 33%. Let's see what that gives us. I mean, the issue there is like, the button container is a flexbox, I believe. So that does a third. However, there is that happens. I think ultimately we kind of want to remove that much spacing from the alert box. Almost have like a margin boolean. That's optional. This defaults to true. Something like this. Throw this in there. And if margin is true, then we want margin 4, margin bottom 4. Otherwise, nothing. And then when we use that alert box in the form, we'll say margin false. Here. But also, this is still optional. Optional, but defaults to true. That should get rid of the weird spacing here. Yeah, so it gets rid of that weird spacing, which I like. And then we can just adjust the top-bottom spacing, and then also get rid of the spacing on the buttons that pop up here. Margin 4. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. We want margin top 4. And then I don't think these classes get passed down. Margin top 4. Class is a string. Class defaults to the empty string, but then if you pass a class down, we can render it in here. Like that. Why is this complaining? Oh. Oh, because class is a reserved word. That's why we would do class name. I mean, we're in Preact, which actually does let us use class. But if we're defining our own props, we can't use a reserved word. So, over here on the form, class name here. That's what I want to see. So the UI doesn't shift without all that extra margin. But if we're on... if I try to go to a page that actually is using that alert component, it still has that default margin, but now I've removed that margin where I don't want it with props. Good call, Scuba Steve. And that's typically something you want to do when you're defining a custom component like this. So right now, I am passing the classes down to this, but if I wanted to override some of these classes, right now it wouldn't because I defined it first. So now if I put this at the end, then I should be able to override existing styles. I guess I could do that, and then I could just pass im0 or something like that. But that should be fine. Okay. Okay. We have not worked on mobile styles at all yet. Like on mobile, we have to rethink the entire UI. We probably want like a top bottom thing where the bottom area is the form and the list and the top area is the map, or vice versa. But right now this app does not have any styling for mobile. And I think I actually do want I want it to be a little bit bigger than 30%, like 40%, 2/5. 3/8, is that a thing? We've got 3/6. The order of CSS classes in HTML doesn't matter. Is that true though? Technically, if the class is on the end, wouldn't it override a property of one set by one on the beginning? Yeah, that's the other issue though, is because this is percentage based, depending on the screen width, it will change. I guess we could also do a min width. You love the clock? What do you mean, Enzo? I don't know what you're referring to. Let's do a min width of, I think if we do this, we can specify like 300 pixels. So it always has to be at least 300 pixels. Yeah, so it never gets smaller than 300 pixels. But bigger than that, it will auto resize. I'm okay with that. We're spending way too long on this. Let's make this update button work, because right now the button only does. Oh, the clock overlay. I see. Yeah, that's my break timer. I see what you mean. That thing. Hello? There it is. That's the one that I use. All right. Do I even have a backend route that can handle updating? I don't know if I do. We might have to create it. But here's the scenario that we're in. On this form, when you click add spot, that technically needs to make a post request so that it adds a brand new spot. If you click update spot, we need to make let's say a put request to update the existing one by ID. So let's do that. And also, I'm going to take this away from, I guess, type submit. No, both of these can be submit, but we know what we're doing based on if it has an ID or not. So both of these buttons will submit the form, but then in our submit handler, we can see if we have an existing ID, then we need to make a put request. So first of all, we validate it. And then here is where we decide what to do. So if editing spot dot value, actually we can go to validated. So if validated dot ID is a thing, then update. Otherwise, create. And then we can define the response here. So if we want to do an update, this is going to be we get to define it. We could technically do a patch. We'll do a put, like a full replace of the thing. And this is going to be a put request against API spots and then the specific ID of the thing that we are updating. In this case, validated.id. Like that. So put request, update this one specific thing by ID. And then when we get back the response, Clear the form, refresh the list. Cool. Cool. The one thing I just thought of though is while the form is being edited, I think we want to change the style of the list below it. So the see list examples? Here we go. We could have like an active item, I think, if you just put the class active. Yeah, if I just put the class active on the element that we are editing, then that will show you in the list which one you're editing. So let's do that in the sidebar here on this class name. So if the ID of the one that we're editing is equal to this ID, then active. Otherwise, nothing. And then this is complaining because not editing spot save changes, editing spot. And then this is complaining because ID is a number, and then this ID is that other thing. But it's just not true. We can TS ignore this. Okay. Check it out. Could I do and instead of a ternary? Yeah, probably could. Well, no, that'll resolve to here's why not, I think. That'll resolve to false, and then that false is going to be put into the string. I don't want false put into the string. I want an empty string put into the string, if that makes sense, because all of this is going to be put on the class property. Okay. What did I just do? Oh yeah, so we can see which one the active one is now. So now if I click over here, you can see that's the active one. You can see that it is technically updating the form based on the one that I click on. And like that's the active one. I'm editing. I want to cancel, discard those changes. Great. Now I don't believe we have a put request available. So open the form below the item. Yeah, I think you're right. So basically, if I click edit here, it would make more sense if the form was in line with the one you just edited, because otherwise they have to scroll back up. Versus if I'm adding a new spot like this, then that one should always appear at the top because it's not in the list yet. Yeah. Yeah, Pyre, check out Netlify. Netlify. I mean, you probably already heard of it, but I'll show you really quick what you can do. We have a repo that has a JSON file inside of it, and here I go getting distracted again. But if you look at our netlify.toml file, you can just copy this. So create a repo, put this Netlify config inside of there, and then any files on that Netlify distribution will have the access control allow origin star header on them. And you can most likely deploy there for free, like even from like a Git repo. But the reason we did that is because we have these JSON files that we want to access from clients. But ultimately, if you create a Netlify distribution with this config, then every single file in your distribution can have the CORS headers on them. Could I have the form slide? Yeah, we could add a lot of animations for sure. But first of all, I want to show you that this update does not work. So if I do this and then I click update, we get a 404 not found on the put request. And technically that should set an error, which it's not, and I want to fix that. So if response was okay, do all that. If it wasn't, then we're setting the create error. And then are we using the create error anywhere? Yeah. No, I would argue, John, that await with try catch is a bit easier to follow than like a dot then chain. A dot then chain with a dot catch can get pretty messy. I do see a lot of people have what's the word? They try to they try to avoid like try catch, because I mean on the surface now you have, not on the surface, but when you look at it you have one more level of indentation. However, we do want to handle the potential things that could go wrong here, because there are multiple things that could go wrong. First of all, we could have a validation error. That would throw an error that we want to catch and then do something with. Second of all, we could have a network level error, like if the server isn't found or something like that. We want to catch that, show it. Third, we could potentially have a parsing error. So like if that server didn't respond with JSON, in this case, it always will because I'm in charge of the backend. But if that threw an error, we want to handle that. So there's a lot of potential things that could go wrong, which is why I have the try catch. But yeah. All right. What are we doing? Why is this error not popping up? Oh, you know what? I bet it's because I thought it was a Zod error. I'm assuming it's a Zod error. Oh no. We set the error here? Oh, you know what it is? Well, no, it is responding with JSON. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. My 404 error is responding with HTML. And yeah, it's responding with HTML. So this actually is a parsing error. This is exactly what I was talking about. So right now, I'm assuming that I get back JSON, but technically, Fresh kicked in and was like, hey, that route wasn't found, so here's some HTML, because I don't have a content type negotiation that says, well, if the request wanted JSON, then you should respond with JSON. Oh, man. No, I agree with that too, John. Like, that's every time I pull out Axios, though, there's 10 people in chat that are like, why don't you just use fetch? Well, this is why I don't just use fetch, because there's so much individual parsing things that I need to do myself. Okay. Because that I guarantee you that is the error that we're getting right now, is that it's a JSON parse error on 404, because the 404 gives us back HTML and we're trying to get it back. We're trying to use it as JSON. So if I do this and then update, JSON parse. All right. Let's see. This will be interesting. We can look at the fresh docs to see if we can handle it, because right now we do have this base 404 handler. You know what? You know what? I bet we could do this without looking at the docs. I bet in this 404 we could have a custom handler that looks at the accept headers, and if the accept headers are not or if the accept headers are JSON, then it needs to respond with JSON. That's what we're gonna do. So we can export. Oh, or can we? I think we can export a little handler like this. Let's see. Let's see if this thing would even run. Bet? I don't know. Because we could do something like if request dot. Oh, well, we do need to tell it this is handlers. Does that work? Or it needs a. Oh, and then I need to import it. Like that. Cool. And then rec dot headers dot get accept. First of all, let's just log that header, and then we're going to return context.render. Honestly, I don't know if this will work because this page is specifically exporting a not found page function. So we might have to do something special with the 404 page. But what I was thinking was right here, we could intercept that and then respond with JSON rather than rendering this. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Like if there is no accept header, we just assume HTML and we render this page. If there is an accept header and it is JSON, then we try to do that. Okay, so let's just see if we actually get here. Get handler 404. Let's see. This not found.handler is not a function. Is there a not found? Is this actually a thing? Type error. This is not a function. Okay. If I just comment this out, let me do this. No errors. Okay. We're going to have to go to the docs. We're going to look at the docs to see if they say anything about the 404 page. Error pages. Manually render 404 pages. Render not found. But that's in some other page. Yeah, I don't know if it's possible. I actually want to look. I want to look in the fresh repo to see what they do with this not found thingy. We're going source code diving. All right. If a oh, this is testing the not found page, and this is telling us about it. It's the default export. I technically should search for _404. I want to see how they handle this. If the path is this, grab the handler. Otherwise, not found is all of this stuff. Is it something like handler gets the rec in the context? Is it something like this? So yeah, like technically we could access the headers down here, but the issue with this is the moment that this gets rendered, it's already an HTML page. There wouldn't be a way to instead of rendering this, return JSON, because this is already like embedded in the layout, if that makes sense. So I need to basically intercept before this even gets rendered. And right now we're dealing with server-side rendering. Like this isn't traditional React or even Next.js. Like this is, this will be rendered into HTML before it gets served by the server. Let's see if this changes anything. Ooh! Ooh! It does. Okay. And that's perfect. And so now, if I go somewhere not found, the not found handler still works. All right, this is exactly what we want because if the accept header, which is either, it's the any type. So if the accept header has a value and it includes JSON, then we are going to do response.json with a message that says not found, like this. Otherwise, we render the page. And then I bet I did this somewhere else. We could probably find the types in this app. I guess not. Oh, it's just like a middleware. Okay. Like this. Like this. And Booby. Thank you very much for that tier 1. All right, moment of truth. So now. That's fine. It'll just be the any type. Handler context, maybe? There we go. Great. Are we not using... No, we're using unknown page pops. Why is that? All right, if I did everything correctly, now when I click this, we should see the error because we don't get a JSON parsing error. We don't. The whole thing's broke. Oh, you're right. I'm missing a comment. I was like, what's going on? What's going on here? Okay. Now, when I click this, it still gets a JSON parse error, so that's not good. Oh, because I need to specifically say that I want application JSON back. Because right now, my fetch handler isn't asking for JSON, but I want it to. So right here, I need to pass an accept header that is application JSON. Let's call this the JSON type. Like that. And so I am sending you application JSON, and I would also like JSON back as well. Welcome in! Welcome in! Thank you for the raid, Finite Singularity. We are working on an app that I will tell you all about, and we're going to see if this is going to work. So right now, I'm using this framework called Fresh, which does server-side rendering. And right now, this little form right here actually does a fetch request. And right now, the route is not found. So because it was not found and because the app is server-side rendered, the server was responding with HTML, and I was trying to parse that as JSON. So what I have just done is I've updated my 404 handler so that if the requesting client asked for JSON, we respond with JSON instead of rendering it out. Let's see if it worked. It didn't work. It didn't work. Regardless, let's say hi to all the people that came in with the raid. What were you working on? Using an ESP32 and 2 round LCDs to bring Bob the plant to life. Nice, nice. I've never worked with the SP32s directly, but I have some light bulbs that have this in them, I believe. They work with ESP Home. ESP Home? This thing. And then most of them I have the custom Tasmata firmware on for ESP devices. Yeah. But, yeah. You're going to make it so that chat can control the eyes of the planet. That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, huge shout out to Fine Edge Singularity. They have a really fun stream. They also have lots of really cool overlays and cool stuff that happens on their stream. So definitely click that follow button. Honestly, am I not following? I guess I'm not following. I'll click the follow button. I see you in my recommended all the time, so I lurk even without following. But yeah. But also, I'm working on my own interesting camera angles like you have. So I added this this morning, mainly because my studio is finally clean enough to show off. It used to be a disaster area. There was stuff everywhere. But now I've got this cool camera angle. And then also over on the other side of my studio, I have my music area. So I'm working on having cool angles and scenes like you do. So yeah. Okay, let's get back to coding. Yeah, so it's so funny. Every time I show this scene, somebody notices something interesting. But yeah, I used to have the L this way, but I like to do, sometimes I do like top down like this. And so because I have the L reverse, that gives me a full like straight area. And that's why the L is reversed, which also, like, you can see that it's a standing desk and the buttons are on the opposite side, but I leave this as a standing desk all the time. Yeah. Is it possible to make the camera switch by detecting your face? We could write some custom software to do that. There might be an OBS plugin that does it. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is my basement. This is my house. So yeah, I work here all the time. So over there, I don't have a camera on it, but that's the desk that I like work at when I'm not streaming. Yeah, I got distracted. It's fine. Let's write some code. Let's get back to it. Yeah, so for all the raiders that came in, let's talk about what tech we're using. And we're using Fresh because we're working with Deno. And Deno is an alternative runtime for Node.js. It's been around for a few years, and they're slowly getting support for all of the Node.js stuff. So eventually, pretty much any Node.js stuff will be able to work inside of Deno. But right now, we're not exactly there yet. And Fresh was created by one of the core members of the Deno team. And it is a next-gen web framework. And it is interesting, though, because so like Next.js, if you've seen the different types of rendering that you can do with Next.js, it does like hybrid server-side rendering, whereas the first render, when a person visits your website, that will be server-side rendered and hydrated with any data that's needed on the page. But then, as the user interacts with the site, it turns into a single-page application. You get a similar thing with SvelteKit. And so my Coding Garden website is using SvelteKit. So technically this page load was not a server rendered because I built it all to static files. But if I go, for example, to the frequently asked questions page, that is a single page application load. Like, there was no actual full page refresh. Svelte replaced the contents of the page with the next page that I was on. So that's a single page application style thing. But it does all of that automatically, because if I were to go to this page directly instead of navigating to it, that's a render of the page versus a single page application dynamic loading of elements. All of that to say, Fresh doesn't do that. Fresh is all about server-side rendering, and if you want any sort of client interactivity, it has to be in an island, which can have JavaScript, but they don't do any sorts of single page application routing or anything like that. It is all, every page load is a server-side render, and then once the page loads, then you can have islands of interactivity with JavaScript. So that's the main idea there. And then also this is using Preact, which is a smaller alternative to React with the exact same API. So if you look at my component and page code, it looks exactly like React components, but ultimately it's using this instead. And there's some interesting things in here like signals. Yeah, signals. And so I saw someone earlier ask about if we're going to set up global state, like Redux or any one of the other ways of doing it, or even the context API. But with signals, you don't really need to do that. So let's take a quick stretch. Why not host everything on GitHub behind Cloudflare if you can't have any interactivity? Seems limited. Cloudflare costs money. Obviously, there's a free tier for Cloudflare, but eventually you'll hit the non-free tier. This website is hosted on I have a server running Nginx that has a bunch of other services, and this specifically is just a folder of static files. It's not a CDN. This isn't distributed around the world. It's literally on one server in, I think, Virginia. If you don't know about the United States, Virginia is over here. It's very close to Washington, D.C. Where are we? Here-ish. Yeah. That's Washington, but my server is somewhere over here, and that's fine. Like, I don't need it to be super quick or anything like that. I don't know. Why don't I use Mac over Linux? Oh, why do I use Mac over Linux or Windows? I do a lot of creative stuff. This music studio, this mixer right here, is a digital mixer. It plugs in via USB to my laptop, and then all of the instruments and audio processing happens on the laptop. And Macs are really good for that. So I use some software called Ableton, but also if you want to use whatever that other really popular software for music stuff is. What's that called? Logic? Logic. Yeah, Logic runs really well on Macs as well. So I do a lot of other things beyond coding that Macs work really good for. And also, I have more info on my frequently asked questions. If you go to the frequently asked questions, you look at why do you use a Mac? I've got a whole statement on that. Also, if you check out my setup of my Mac, I talk about it there as well. Okay. That's fresh. And right now we're dealing with issue. I think the potential issue is that the accept header is not what we expect. Let's just log it out. Because I thought I was sending it as application JSON. Let's see if we actually get it as application JSON. No, it's star. Oh, because I didn't refresh the page, of course. So if I refresh the page, we make some edits. What I'm expecting is, we should have seen an error. Ultimately, yeah, now there we go. So now when we get that accept header, it is application JSONs. Okay, so that's what we expect. Good. However, the UI shouldn't shift because right now there was actually an error in the form. So if response was okay, do all this. In this case, the response was not okay, so it actually sets the create error, or it should anyways. Let's see. Yeah, that shouldn't do that because right now this should be sending a put request to an endpoint that doesn't exist. Why is this happening? Oh, is it? There's no way it's a 200 status code. I guess it is, isn't it? Yeah, I have to. Okay, yeah, you're totally right. This 200. This is responding with a not found. Okay, that is not. That's not very intuitive, but yeah, you're totally right. When I added that custom handler over here, this is now a 200 status code. Okay, so I think technically now what I need is, okay, because I don't think I can do like response dot, yeah, I can't do, here's what I got to do. I got to create a new response where the body is json.stringify this, not found. But then I can add custom status codes and headers in here. So I can say status is 404 still. And then do I need to set the content type header? Let's not set the content type header. No, actually, I think I do. I need to, everything's very manual here because I'm specifically setting the body of the response to be a stringified JSON. So I actually have to say the headers and the content type header is application JSON, like that. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. We go in here, we click update. It's like, hey, not found. Awesome. That's what I want to see, because ultimately, once we actually implement that API endpoint, if that API endpoint responds with an error, like, I don't know, server was down or these are invalid updates, we're going to see that error right here as well. So that's actually what I want to see. So I can cancel this. Should work over here too. Cool. Cool. Yeah, so we're not using Express. We are using Deno, which is an alternative runtime for Node.js, and then we're using a library called Fresh. So Fresh is not all client. I mean, Fresh is mainly server-side. All of this client interactivity that we're building out are our islands with JavaScript. But for instance, when we go to this page, this is all server rendered. So if you go to the page and then look at the render, you can see all of the injected styles. And then you can also see that it is literally rendering these elements. Like this isn't showing me a page and then JavaScript kicks in to add the elements. It literally creates divs and such on the back end before it returns it to me. But when you look at the source code for this, this is actually like a preact element. So it's technically server-side rendering that preact element. Okay. This is good. Let's make this button work. So right now it's saying not found. That means I need to actually implement the that route on my back end here. So we're defining API endpoints. Inside of lists by ID, I want to create an endpoint for put. Because right now we can get one, oh no, not even lists. No, this needs to be spots. Never mind. So this is spots by some ID. Yeah, so there needs to be a new file in here that is id.ts. And so if I make a put request to API/spots/ the ID of the specific spot that I'm trying to update, that will be what we're doing here. So I'm going to copy paste what we had before, but a lot of stuff is going to change. So right now, find one. We're not working with lists anymore. We're actually working with spots. Spot. Cool. And then find one needs to come from queries/spot. And we'll have to define this because it doesn't exist yet. This will be a spot. We find one. And then this isn't a list anymore. This is a spot. Okay. Let's fix this. So the way we've structured our database stuffs, we're using a library that is a query builder. It is not an ORM. And the one we're using is called Keasley. It's very similar to Connex, if you've heard of it, but it has really good TypeScript support. So basically, it lets us define our database connection, and then we get type completion for table names, and then column names and column types. So you get really good type completion, but ultimately the code you're writing is very close to SQL in that the code you write will get turned into a SQL query rather than it being like an ORM. So the way we've done this is we have our table definitions in here, but then we're defining, oh, technically we do have spot. Yeah, so we're defining this, and then this has the queries that we call elsewhere. So right now we have a create one. We also want a get one. Let's copy it from over here. It should be easy. Oh, maybe it's not going to be easy. So when we're finding lists, we make sure the user ID is on that given list. Yeah, we'll write it from scratch. So I want a function called getOneSpot. Get1. And we're passing in an ID that is a number. Yeah, ID is a number. And then we can say database dot select from. We get type completion of all the tables in our database. We want to select from the spot table. We're going to get all properties from it, so it's like select star. And then we want to say where the ID is equal to the ID that we passed in. And then we'll say execute, take first, or throw. So if it throws an exception, then that means it wasn't found in the database. We also want to say where the user ID is the current user ID. So do we have, yeah, we have a user ID property on the spot. And so I actually want to pass in the user ID as well. Because if I'm getting one spot, I need to make sure that the user has access to that spot. Like this. It should be a proper order for select all and where. I think you can put these in any order, and it'll ultimately turn into the same SQL query. It's smart enough to say select star from where and where. Like this should get turned into an and where query. It should anyways. So with this function, now if the spot was not found, it's going to throw an exception. But also if the user ID requesting it isn't the right one, it'll throw an exception. Like we're not showing, in this case, like an unauthorized error. It's just going to show an unknown error. But we are passing in the user ID here. Has no exported find one. Let's rename this to find one instead of get one, just to be consistent. Cool. So that's that. We will turn that ID into a number. And then user ID is number or undefined. Let's make it a number. Everything's a number. Ultimately, we have some other middlewares that will block a user that's not logged in from even getting here. So if a user that's not logged in tries to request this, they get kicked out earlier because they don't have a user ID in the, like they don't have a cookie set. So they shouldn't make it this far. All right. That should be good for Git, although technically we're not even using it. But I can show how it works. Because if we go to the API endpoint, so if we go to API /lists /this specific ID, we get back the list that has this ID, and then we can see the spots inside of it. And we can see that this spot has an ID of 1 and a user ID of 1. So now if I go to API /spots/1, that should give me back this specific spot. And it does. But if I wasn't logged in, like let's say I log out right now, now there's no more cookie set, and if I try to request this, invalid input for syntax for type integer nan. I guess technically, this is where we would throw the error. I think we were doing that manually. Over here, let's see. Are we doing it over here? Yeah, we were doing it manually. I'm gonna do it manually, but I mean, I need a to-do here. To-do, extract this to commonplace so that we don't have to define it in every single one. But now on the spot handler, if there is no user ID, respond with unauthorized. Unauthorized, that's what I want to see. Okay. If you're using Postgres, can't you use row-based security? You can, but the only time I've ever worked with row-based security is when I was using Supabase. And I haven't done that with apps like this where we're just directly querying the database. I'd have to figure out how we would do that in this scenario, but yeah, okay. Good. We can get one. We can get one by ID, and if I log in, it should show up now. So if I log in, now I'm logged in. I have a cookie set, and if I refresh this, we can get that data. Great. Now I want to create an endpoint that's not just get. I want one that is put, because I want to be able to update the one with that given ID. Quick stretch. Welcome in, everyone. Though I'm just looking at the viewer count now, and this is a lot more than usual, so thank you for being here. I don't normally stream on Saturdays. Normally this stream that I'm doing right now is reserved for Fridays, but my power went out yesterday, so I'm streaming today. But thanks for being here. I appreciate you. All right. Do more Saturday streams? We'll see. I mean, ultimately, I want to spend time with my partner and my dog, which is why I haven't been streaming on weekends, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. And thank you, Finder the Ice Wing, for that hydrate. So now, if we receive a put request, I want a put request because that's a full replace of the item with that ID. We will now say update one, and we'll have to write this functionality with that user ID and that param ID. Looks good. And so now in our queries, we'll just define this update one function. And so this actually will take in multiple things. So it takes in the ID, the user ID, but then also the updates themselves. So we'll call this the spot, which is of type spot, like that. And then now this should be throwing an error because it's like, hey, where is that spot at? And we want to validate it. So we'll say validated gets passed in there. But then we need to validate the incoming request body. So here I can say validated is capital S spot dot parse async. And we'll pass in, what do we want? Underscore request dot body, I believe. And then we need to import update one from our queries. I'm just going to confirm that that's how we're doing it over here with ID, though I don't think we have an update for ID yet. I think right now we just have a get one by ID and then we have a create one, but I think the create has a validation in it. I guess technically this one should have a validation in it. Yeah. We need to do this. We need to parse the incoming body as JSON over here. So right now I just passed in rec.body. I need to do this. Cool. That's the winner. So client sends data to the backend. Backend validates that data. If the data is validated, we then call update one with that validated data. That's going to be over here. That looks like this. Why was this complaining? Because we haven't defined a return type yet. So we could say db dot update, db dot replace into. The table is spot. So a put is a full replace. It's not a patch, which would only be updating one ID. So we're sending the full body to replace the entire thing. So we want to replace into the spot table with the values spot. Should be good. Should be all right. Though technically we don't want to allow the user to like overwrite, like created at, updated at. Technically, we only want description, title, and latitude, longitude. Those should actually be the only updatable things. Let's take a look at our schema. Yeah. So we've already defined a separate object, so this is fine. So all of these properties should be updatable, I guess, except for the user ID. And then, yeah, we want to manually update. I mean, technically, we could create a database hook, or what do you call it, database trigger, that automatically updates the updated at column, because we don't have that. But for now, we could do that manually. So we could do this. We could say, grab all the values of the spot. The ID needs to be the ID that was passed in, so don't overwrite that. And then updated at needs to be right now. All right. I guess replace into shouldn't replace the ID. Or maybe if I do replace into, it uses the ID of the element itself. Let's go look at the Keasley doc. So this is the ORM that we're using. It has that replace into function. And I don't see it anywhere. Let's see if they have anything on updating queries. Use the set method and the update table method. This is actually what I want. Okay, this is better. I don't know about this replace into thing. So let's do update table spot where the ID of the spot is the ID, and where the user ID of the spot is that user ID. And then we want to say set these given values. And then update it at new date, like that. Maybe, I mean, ultimately, I don't want to overwrite the list ID, the user ID, or the ID. So really, if I did like this, so I don't want list ID or user ID. I just want these properties. So I can do like that. So that way I am only specifically updating these properties where it is like this in the database. Yeah? Yeah? I guess technically I could define a different interface for receiving in the put request. Because the put request right now is accepting a full spot with an ID and updated at and created at. But technically I could create a custom type that only has these properties on it. This should be fine for now though. Can I drop to the interface so TypeScript automatically drops the values? In meaning defining a partial type, a type that only has specific properties. Yeah. I don't think I have anything automatic for created at and updated at. I don't think so. We can check. If I get rid of this, we can check. So right now, this is the Sloan's Lake spot. You can see that created at and updated at are the exact same time. So let's do this. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're right, Automagic. But so we could use omit, but we're also using Zod. So I think technically I would want to define a separate, an even further separate one that doesn't have an ID property. Or I guess ID is optional. I don't know. We would call it like updatable spot or something like that. But regardless, this should be enough. This is going to replace it or update it in the database. And then once that's done, it'll respond with it. So let's try it. Now, if I go into to here. I go to Sloan's Lake, and instead of I'll update this later, I'll say I have updated this. Now, I don't know the behavior. Like, I don't know what's going to happen when I click update. Don't await update query builder instances directly. To execute, that's a good error. I forgot a thing. So over here, I need to do execute, take first, or throw. Like that. So that'll actually execute the query against the database. All right, let's try again. Update. Oh, that seems to have worked. And then now if I re-request it, we see I have updated this, but we can see that updated at didn't get replaced. So we don't have anything right now that is automatically updating that field. So I will pass that in. We should add some loading spinners. So right now, if I go back in Sloan's Lake, I have updated this again. I want to see some loading spinner because doesn't seem to be doing that. Also, technically, now that I'm editing this, if I click somewhere else, if I click here and then click update, that on the update, the old one goes away, and now it's here instead, which is good. Though we want some better, we want the UI to better represent that, because right now, if I'm editing the spot and I click somewhere else, it's not immediately apparent that this place that I'm clicking will be the new spot for the one that I'm editing. If I have changed the form and clicked to the map, what would be the flow for that? Oh, I can't. So right now, we made it so that if there are unsaved changes, and I guess technically changing the location is an unsaved change, and we are not saying that it's an unsaved change. So let's handle that. But yeah, technically if there are unsaved changes, then we can't click away to another one until we've saved or canceled. I think this is the point where we change the pin color. So let's work on this interactivity here. So if I go in to edit a spot, like Cheeseman Park, this should turn, I don't know, red, yellow, or green. It should indicate that I'm currently editing this. And then if I click somewhere else, the original one should disappear, and then the new one should appear, because that's where I'm changing the spot to. So let's handle that. First of all, how do we set a custom marker? Because let's do that to begin with. So right now we have all of these, this blue marker, but we can come up with a green one for the default one. And if we look at the map component, so islands, fresh map, right now we have this marker. That's just using the default icon. Does this have an icon prop? I don't think it does. We can look at the library that we're using. It's Preact leaflet. This one. There actually is some animation. So if we go into edit, like City Park, and I click over here, it animates to it. It does that. But also if I go to another spot, it'll animate to that one. Yellow for changes makes sense. All right, we're going to look at the source code for this Preact leaflet wrapper, because I don't think it allows us to specify the icon. So it's doing create layer. It passes the props at some point. Yeah, here it says get options and passes those props. And right now it is passing down position. So if we look at the actual leaflet documentation and see, look at their marker. Marker. Wait. There's no position prop. That's why I'm confused right now, because we're actually passing down position. Yeah, I see icon. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this the right way, because Um, position at the very top. So we create a marker by passing in the latitude, longitude. I guess that's what's happening in the underlying library. Yeah, so it's just passing them in there. I would guess that that's how they're getting passed in, and then if we specify an icon prop, then we do that. Okay, the other thing is while I'm here, so right now we're rendering out the list of spots, and we're also rendering out the spot that we're currently editing. I can adjust that to say if the spot.id is equal to the one that we're currently editing, is equal to that ID, then don't render anything. Otherwise, render this. And then this is, I think, complaining about the type, which is fine. And so now, that actually should fix the issue where when I'm editing a spot, if I click, it won't render twice. So if I go to like Sloan's Lake, and I click, now it doesn't have the original one. It's only the one that I'm clicking, but we also need to make that like yellow or gray or something. So we need to pass in an icon here. Let's call this like spot icon. We'll have to define it, and then this will be the editing icon, something like that. We need to define both of these. Spot icon is this. Editing icon is that. And then we only want to do this if we're in the browser. But then I guess they'd have to be... I think you make a good point, AutoMagic. We will... yeah, I like that idea. Let's just see if this works, though. So we have to predefine spot icon, which is of type l.icon, and then editing icon is that. So they're undefined when the page is rendered on the server, and then when we're on the client, we will define them by using our leaflet instance. And then we need to make an icon and like put it in our static folder. We'd have like a folder for images, and then we need a folder for our icon. For now, let's just use the Coding Garden logo. Actually, it's not at a deployed URL. Oh, actually it is. If I go to coding.garden/favicon.png, not found. That's tiny. That one. So we'll use this icon URL. Let's just see if this works. Icon size 32 by 32. Icon anchor. Don't define either of these, and there is no shadow. Let's just see if this works. All right. We're here. We refresh the page. I am surprised that that worked on the first try. Cool. Okay, so now I need an actual icon. Where should I find that? Oh, the fresh. I'm open to that. Yeah. This one. Though, what do we do about the lines? Do we want the lines in there? And I guess, can you set an icon to be an SVG? Or does it have to be a URL? We could just replace the default. Div icon represents a lightweight icon for markers using a simple div element instead of an image. This is what we want. Yeah, this is what we want, because then we can put an SVG inside of it. Something like this. And then this will have a class of like spot icon, so we can change the fill, I think. And then we can also pass in the HTML here, I think. Which for now will be just a p tag that says hello world. Let's see. Yeah, okay, but now we can use SVG. So if we look at our navbar, I think we just put the SVG directly in there. Yeah, we did. But we could pull it into like a logo component. No, I think technically I would just need to copy paste it. So now I can put this SVG in there. Like this. Let's get rid of these white lines. And then we don't specify the fill on the path, but we specify it on this spot icon class. So if we go to our global CSS, we'll have a class for the spot icon, and this will have a fill of the bootstrap green. Well, in this case it's coding garden green, but we overwrote it. That should do it. Haha! And now we can have another class for the editing icon, and it will have a fill of like light gray. Or we can like pick a yellow. Let's look at the bootstrap variables that we have access to. This one, light gray. Editing spot, I agree. Yeah, because we know this is a spot icon versus an editing spot icon. Cool. Put this into a variable, call it that, so we can reuse it. And then now spot icon dash, you know, maybe. There's a lot of ways to spin it. But here we create two separate icons. This one has spot icon editing. Right, why is this complaining? Oh, because we need to give it a new type. That. Yeah. I'm going to go with what I had. I like spot icon and then editing spot icon. Yeah, I mean, if you get into the different ways of doing CSS, like technically this is a modifier. So with BIM, I think it would be written like this because you have the element and then the modifier for it. Right? Something like that? I don't know. I'm going to go with my own personal naming scheme, and I like this one because we are editing that given spot. All right, this should do it. So now, if I go to Sloan's Lake, it shows up. Should have been gray, but it's not. Let's see. I think technically this needs to be. Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing. If I didn't spell it right or set the name right, I'll change it. What did I do? Spot icon editing. See, I did it the BIM style. Okay, I'm gonna do it this way, like that. Yeah. There we go. So now it's gray. I guess it would be nice to be yellow. Do we have a yellow color? Let's see. We don't. Let's find a yellow color that is complementary to this green and the background color. So we're gonna lock in the Coding Garden green, and we're gonna lock in this background color like that. Cool. And now we can generate colors that are complementary to that. Let's figure out one, let's find a yellowish, like this orange yellow could work. I actually really like that. Let's add it. Also, where did I define the rest of those variables? Oh. That's gold? It says it's orange yellow. Is there a way to only generate yellows? Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is the way I've ever used it. Is like lock in the colors that I want, and then generate complementary colors based on that. I've never used color hexa. Let's check it out. Enter any color. We're going to enter Coding Garden green. Let's see. Okay. This gives us triadic. I don't like that yellow. This is like a yellow green. Oh, I see. I see. They're telling us what it would look like if someone is colorblind, right? All right. Or not. Okay. Now what do I do? Shark turn up. How do I find more colors? Are these my only options? Hex words? Oh, to find the name of the color. I see. Shrek green. Scroll to the... Okay, so I'm all the way at the bottom. I'll be honest. I don't know how to use it, and I don't feel like learning. I'm just going to use this. But also, I just realized now that, like, my... Yeah, why is Wikipedia clean dark green? Why is Wikipedia working on localhost 8000? That is not good. Like, my custom user style is being applied to multiple websites. Like, I don't understand why that's being applied to localhost. Cool. Because even then I was using a variable that I thought existed that doesn't actually exist. All right. we've got ourselves some new color variables. We've got, what was this called? Orange yellow. And then what was that one? Gainsboro. Okay. Quick stretch. Oh, good call with that, Lurker. That's probably what's happening. Like when I'm on localhost, it thinks I'm in like local development. Yeah, welcome in, Apprentice Dev. So it's complicated. The reason there's no Sass is because it's complicated. So we are using a framework called Fresh. Let me show you their website. This is Fresh. It works inside of Deno. With Fresh, there is no build process. The code you write is the code that gets deployed. So if you look at this directory structure, like this is the code that's going to get deployed. There's no build. There's no build output directory. This is it. This is what you get. So if I were to use Sass, I would need some sort of build step that would actually commit that code, the built code, to my project, and then I would need to reference the built code. And so there's not really a development workflow for that yet with Deno and Fresh, because it works on the idea that you don't have a build process. So that's one of the main reasons we're not using Sass, is because we don't have a build. And so basically this CSS that I write is directly getting served on the render. So if we look at the source of the rendered page, all of that CSS gets injected here. And if we search for like the, what was that? Orange yellow? Orange? It's got to be there somewhere. Did I not save the file? Save the file. Oh no, but it's never mind. It's actually referencing the CSS file directly. Yeah, so that loads this CSS file, which has our stuff. And so there is no build process. So that's the reason why we're not using Sass. There is no build process. Now we could set something up that would build as we code, and then we would need to actually commit that code to our repo, because the way we deploy this is we point Deno deploy at our Git repo. But that's the answer to why there's no Sass. Is it's complicated. If I was using something like Next.js or any sort of framework or tooling that has a build process, then I absolutely could use Sass, because when it gets built, we're going to get that bundled built version of the Sass that gets injected. So yeah, I mean, it is true. And so like, I think styling is one of the main things that, not one of the main things, but Fresh does know that right now that is a thing that they need to work on. And which is why, by default, this thing gets set up. It's an option, but really one of the main ways to style this is with Tailwind. And you could think of like Tailwind as it's a CSS toolkit, so it's kind of like a replacement for Sass in some ways, not in all ways. So there's that. Okay, let's keep going. It works. Yeah, it works. I've tried Nux 3. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I like it. Though these days, I think I'll probably choose SvelteKit for any app going forward, just because it's so performant and has so many cool built-in things. And I guess is Nux 3 still in release candidate? That's another reason to like. Yeah, it's still release candidate for whatever reason. And then SvelteKit just had some major changes, so it seems like it's going to be pretty stable for a while. All right, what am I doing? I'm standing like this. Okay. What I need to do is, so right now I'm editing a spot, but when I click around to change its location, that it's updating here, but I am not updating my signal that says, hey, we have unsaved changes. Because technically when you click around, you have unsaved changes. Because like, yeah, if I click over here and then click update, now that's actually in our database and that's the new location. And if I want to change it, I need to go here and change it, and then click update, which would actually change it. But let's go to our form, our spot form, and when we click on the map, actually, it's not going to be in the form. It's going to be on the map. So on the map, we have a click listener that moves the thing. And inside of there, we want to say that we have unsaved changes if we move it. So if there is an existing value, update the latitude, longitude, but also we will say editing spot unsaved changes is true. So now if I go in here and I click, now you can see the border is yellow because it's saying, hey, you've got some unsaved changes here. And you could discard those changes like that. But let's say I want to change the Sloan's Lake thing to be the boat ramp over here. We need to fix the other options that an icon has. I guess it's in here. Because right now, we need like the offset. Forget. But thank you, Mark. We'll use that. Cool, and that'll make it nice and differentiated from the background. So we'll just update this SVG here. Why are these classes on there? Are these Tailwind classes on our SVG? What? That one stays black. This one doesn't have a fill property, so that it uses, or it should use that. Let's see. It's so tiny. Yeah, I think actually that's why we did want these classes. Though, I don't think those are going to get injected by Twinned. It's changing the fill everywhere. So I need to update my CSS to only target this one, because it's changing the fill of both, I believe. So if we look at our global CSS, we want spot icon marker. Though they both have an ID of marker. Let's get rid of that. I guess this has an ID of icon. So let's use that. We're using Bootstrap and Tailwind. I know it's not the best thing to do, but I didn't want to define my buttons from scratch. I didn't want to use something like, we started using Flowbyte, and then it was just way too many classes we had to put in there. So I want Bootstrap for the default styles and Tailwind for all of the utility classes like Flex and Margin and stuff like that. Though Bootstrap does have some of those built in. Okay, icon shadow is there. Let's look at the computed style for fill. So without the build process, we're using a library called Twinned, which will generate stuff on the fly, but there's a plugin for Fresh that when the page is rendered, it analyzes the rendered HTML to see what classes it needs to inject, and then it injects those Tailwind styles. So that's basically how we get around a build process. So like when the page is rendered, there's a plugin that dynamically injects those CSS classes from Tailwind. All right, what's happening? There's no fill on here. What's that one called? There we go. That did it, but also I can't see it. Or can I? Can you see it? Set it to red to check. Good call. Good call. Yeah, can't see it. I'm surprised that these Tailwind classes got injected. Because, oh, maybe these are Bootstrap classes. I don't know. All right, how do I move it? Mark, how do I make it more slightly adjusted and to the right? Increase the transform. Okay, apparently there's a CSS transform going on in here. Ah! Okay. Oh, it's not even a CSS transform. It is a SVG transform. How's that work? What if we use a CSS transform instead? How does translate work? Not transition, transform. Thank you. Hey, okay, did that do something? I did something. Hey, welcome in, Julian. Oh, yeah, you're totally right. There's probably like a overflow? Visible? Overflow? Visible? Oh, the viewport. I see. I see. Okay, so first of all, that translate is like way too much. Let's fix it. Can I use the arrow keys? Yeah. Oh, there it is. Wait, why is it black though? It should be red. Yeah, you're totally right. Because there's a fill on it. So that didn't even work. Okay. What did I settle on? This. Transform, translate, 6 pixels, 2 pixels. Okay. That should do it. Now this thing, instead of a transform, gets a style, inline style. Transform, translate. Yeah, so, and then the fill is there, which is fine. I want it to be black. That should do it. Yeah, now everything has a shadow, but also that shadow is getting cut off because I think the SVG needs to have a overflow visible. How do you do overflow visible in Tailwind? Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, that does it, right? What do you mean it won't work with SGV? It's working, isn't it? I mean, I could be crazy. Enhance. Yeah, that's working. Is that too much of a shadow? Like, is it too offset? I'm getting pretty good at de-guessing Tailwind classes. It's true. Yeah, no worries, Enzo. I've been using this for years at this point. So this break timer. There are other ones. I think I mentioned it in the link. Is it just break? I think it's break. Yeah, I was just slow to respond. Yeah, there's that one called Stretchly. Does a very similar thing, but yeah, it just reminds you to take a quick break, take your hands off the keyboard, that kind of thing. Give it a little blur. All right, sure. On the filter, blur, 2 pixels. Is that how filter blur works? Let's see. Enhance. Hey. Not bad, right? Not bad? Better. Okay, so if we go to edit one, that has a shadow now too. All right, Julian. Julian, have a good night. See you later. Reduce the opacity for less punchiness. Also, it'll be a little less visible. You can see through it a little bit. Cool. I'm fine with that. All right, let's get back to what we were doing, which was, oh, I think I already did it. So yeah, now we know that we're editing this spot because it's yellow, and if I click here, that's going to update it. We have a to-do to change the zoom animation, because right now if I click here, like, I technically don't want to zoom out because I'm zoomed in at the level I want to be. I think the other issue is we need to change the anchor, because when I click, the icon is down and to the right. So, like, technically this icon should be on the road, not in the street, or in between. I don't know. It should be on the road. So for that, we need to change the icon positioning. And that they should tell us how to do that here. Icon anchor. The coordinates of the tip of the icon. And that should be the size of the icon, which in this case is 33 by 42, I think. What do these classes do? MR 3, margin right 3, height 6, height 9. What do those even do? I think ultimately we want to increase the size here. We should be able to do that with our existing CSS. because we could do spot icon SVG and spot icon editing SVG. Give it a explicit width height. Pixels, height 42 pixels. Is that what it is? 33, 42.5. Is this the width and the height? Or the height and the width? Let's see. That seems fine. But now we can update the anchor. So if the thing is 33 by 42, and we want to anchor it then to negative 33 divided by 2, because then that will put it over halfway, and then we want to go the full height, so negative 42.53. So that should put the anchor. So right now the point is here and it's anchoring it to the top left, but now that we've moved it, it should be where we expect. Let's see. That is not the case. Let's see. So if I'm editing Sloan's Lake and then I click here, that didn't fix it. Negative 41st, first try. What's up, Data Dev? Welcome in. The coordinates of the tip of the icon relative to its top left corner. Okay. I'm curious if it's actually rendering that specific size. If we look at this, yeah, like it is. The overall SVG. Reverse both of the signs. So positive? Let's see. No, so you see how I click and then the icon is like down and to the right of where I click? I want the point to be where I click. Oh, I guess if we pass in the icon size as well. So that needs to be 33, like that. Cool. So now I don't set it here. I set it when I'm defining the icon. Like that. Relative to the top left corner. Yeah. Negative half, negative full height. Down is positive? Okay, let's try it. We're getting somewhere. Okay, so yeah, when I click here, it's the right, it's at the right height. Um, if we do 0. Right there. Okay. I think this is they're both just positive. I think they're both just positive. I don't know why I was doing negative. Okay, that's it. We've got it. We've got it. Yeah, so now if I do this, that's what I want to see. And you can tell if you watch where I click, wherever I click, that's what it's pointing to, and that's what I want to see. Yeah, and now you can see like this marker is in the road. Okay. That's what we like to see. But that would let me change the entrance to the boat ramp. Okay. Whew. First try. All right. I think I'm actually going to update this location on the form because I don't like that it's cutting off the longitude. So on the spot form, let's actually, instead of rendering the latitude longitude inside of a disabled input, let's just put it in a paragraph tag? I don't know. Like that. Let's see what we get. I think it's a little bit better, but I do want it to be like slightly grayed out so it's not the same color as the label. Apparently that didn't work. Oh, wait, is this isn't... I was just thinking, if this is not server rendered, it's only on the client, then the Tailwind styles don't get injected. Is this how I set the text color with Tailwind? What about the cursor as a marker image? What do you mean by that? Yeah, the project is deployed. In a second, I'll deploy the changes we've made so far. And I'll show you. Let's see if is there a way to do this just with Bootstrap and not Tailwind? Like that. Breadcrumb item. Sure. Let's reuse the breadcrumb item class. Text grade 300. Oh, I was missing the amount. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Wunmin. Okay. I just saw another issue. So right now this this has pretty good functionality so far because we can add and update. So for example, let's say I want to add a new spot, and so all of these spots are parks in Denver. Let's find one. Yeah, like over here. I mean, technically this isn't Denver, but it's near Denver. Actually, there's like a park up here in the Highlands I could add. It's tiny. Teeny tiny. Where is it? The mouse cursor on the map would be a marker so that you can better visualize where the marker is going to land. Oh, I see what you're saying. I totally see. So as I move, if I'm in edit mode, as I move, instead of seeing my cursor, you literally see the marker. Yeah, that, I like that. I'm not gonna do it today, but I'll add it to do. Probably on the map. Like right here ish. To do. Use a pin as a mouse cursor when editing location. What was I doing besides that? I totally forgot. Oh, I was going to add a new spot. That's what I was doing. Okay. There's a park over here somewhere. I used to live in the Highlands. It's been so long, though. I forget where all this stuff is. It's over here. Right there. This is a park. It's not even labeled on the map, but this is a park. So we're going to add it. We're going to call it Highlands Park. A nice spot to eat your lunch. Add. Cool. So that gets added. And then we can go in and we can edit it. We can say, oh, well, I don't want the point there. I want the point over there. Update it. Good to go. Here's an issue. Right now, if we are, let's say I click on a point, like let's say, so right now if I click this, it technically zooms in, but it adds a new spot instead of editing the spot that is existing. And technically I would have wanted to go here to edit the Barnum one. So I need to, when the marker is clicked on, I need to make sure that I do not create a new spot. I just edit the existing one. And I pretty much, I think I just want to stop propagation. I want to stop the click from going to the map. Let's try it. So right now on the map, I thought, never mind. Maybe we never had a click handler here. Because technically it would be like, if we have a click handler on the marker, let's just try it. E.stop prop, I don't have any autocomplete. Hopefully this works. Propagation. Let's see. E.stop propagation is not a function. That's good. That's a good sign. I could do E.prevent default. Let's see. What is E? I think I want the original event, because this is like a leaflet thing where it wraps it, because it has like location clicked and stuff like that. So yeah, I want E.original event. Dot prevent default. Yeah, I think you're right, Strippin. Cool. But if I click over here, it zooms in. Great. But if I click here, it's preventing the default action. Awesome. But now, instead of just preventing the default action, I want to do a fly to the marker that was clicked. Like this. Yeah. Hello. Now, I do that too. If I'm watching a streamer and I think I can help, I'll often I'll be lurking and then I'll give help before I even say hello. I probably should I should say hello first. That. All right. We have done a whole lot of UI improvements today that I'm pretty proud of. So check this out. If I click here, boom, it zooms in on that spot. I guess technically I also want to set this as the editing spot. So I could do editing spot.value is this specific spot. So when I click on it, it also sets the form. So if I click here, now we know that we're editing Confluence Park. If I click here, we're editing Commons Park. If I click here, we're editing Highlands Park. If I click here, it's a brand new spot. Oh no, actually it's not. No, if I click here, then we're updating the existing location of Highlands Park. Okay, that... At least they know. But really I need to discard these changes and then click here, and then I have a new spot. But now that I'm in editing mode, I can edit a new spot, and I shouldn't be able to click on these because I'm currently editing one. But that's going to change because if I click here, that lets me edit. So I need to basically copy the logic that I have on the sidebar. That when I click on a marker, if we don't have unsaved changes, then do this stuff. I mean, it's literally the same thing. Oh, is this it? Yeah, this is it. So now if I'm editing and I click over here, wait. Oh, I technically didn't have unsaved changes. Yeah. But if I click here, I start working on it. Now I can't click here. I can't click here because I have to either cancel or complete these changes here. Discard. And now I can click around. Okay. I am pretty happy with this. I will say, and I will admit that it is a little bit awkward, right? Because if I click this, I'm technically in new spot mode, but because I haven't edited anything yet, if I click somewhere else, now I'm out of new spot mode and now I'm into edit mode. So that could be a little bit jarring for the user because now that I'm in edit mode and I click, I'm technically changing the location of the one that I clicked on. And I might not want to do that. So, yeah. So this stack is it's a bit complicated, but ultimately it's Deno and Fresh. So if you check out the GitHub repo, it has a rundown of the tech and then some of the libraries that we're using. But there are quite a few other libraries. If you look in the dependencies, then you can see some of the other dependencies. And then if you look in the import map, you can see a few other dependencies as well. But it's Deno and it's Fresh, so it's a little bit different. Yeah, and right now it's just a web app. Like technically we could load this inside of a web view and like an Ionic app or something like that, but this is just a web app. We can't delete, but we could do that right now. Let's do it right now, just for press F1 to continue. Everyone type F1 in chat. Let's add delete. Let's delete a spot. So first of all, let's add the delete button. So in the spot form, there should be a delete button. Never mind, we're not going to delete. Just because it gets more we can do it, but it gets complicated because just like when I click cancel, well, if I have unsaved changes, when I click cancel, I want to show a confirmation. Like, are you sure you want to cancel? You will lose any unsaved changes. When I click delete, I want similar functionality. I'm like, are you sure you want to delete? You're about to like totally remove this spot. And I don't feel like coding that out because, I mean, technically I could do it in the exact same way. Like I could have a new state variable called isDeleting and then have another dialog that only shows conditionally, but that's not the best way to do it because, yes, I would want to refactor it. I would basically want to refactor this isCanceling functionality into a generic component that can handle isDeleting or isCanceling or other things like that. And I don't feel like doing that right now, so I'm not going to do that. But we'll do that in the future. So that's awesome. What now? I guess being able to share the list would be good. It would be good. In that, once this is deployed, I would like to be able to share this link, and then someone could go here and then see all of the spots. Excuse me. I'll handle that next time. I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make it so that we're actually showing the description on all of these cards on the left-hand side, because we're not doing that yet. Yeah, I mean, technically, I need a couple more toggles for the list itself. So the list has a few properties in the database, and procrastinating watching CJ, thank you very much for that sub. But the list has a Boolean, whether or not it is published, that is, can the world see it? And then it also has another one called public, and that is whether or not this list shows up on your public profile. We don't even have public profiles yet, but tooltips on the markers, like on hover, yeah, that'd be cool. It would. Position edit could be done with drag and drop. Yeah, you know what? I'm not opposed to that. Where like if I go into edit, let's say City Park, if I click, that is technically adding a new spot. But if I drag, that drags the marker. That doesn't drag. Yeah, that drags the marker, not the map. Though, yeah, what I'm worried about is, okay, let's say they want to edit it, but they want to put the marker like way over here. Drag is going to be a little clunky for that. Whereas right now, if I want to move it, I can just click because I'm technically editing that one specific one. Yeah. These markers are spots. So the whole idea of this app is you can create lists of spots, lists of places. And so this list that I'm demoing with is called Best Parks in Denver, Colorado. So you've got Wash Park, City Park, Cheeseman Park, all these parks. And the idea is I want to take this URL and share it with someone so now they can see the best parks in Denver. But similarly, you could go top 10 pizza restaurants in New York City, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, if I was doing drag, there's probably something in Leaflet. So Leaflet's the library we're using for the markers and the map. There's probably something in here that would let us do the drag. But yeah, I mean, and that's the idea of root privileges. You could create whatever list you want. So it could be like best public restrooms in New York City, that kind of thing. All right. How would you move to an off-screen location? Does drag not place the pin? Oh no, so dragging. This detects. Yeah, so let's say I'm in edit mode. It doesn't place until like the library itself already handles that. You can see it basically. It can determine if I'm panning or dragging the map versus just individually clicking the map. Yeah. So the library technically handles that for me. Yeah. That's a good point. CKC Richer. We would definitely want to add that in the future. Instead of always just a little green icon. I mean, I guess we could technically do the green SVG, but then you could choose an icon that appears inside of it. Yeah. And then we could also put like text of the name of the place. That's a good point, Andy from Lithuania. We basically can make it so that if you click, nothing happens unless you specifically say edit location. Now you're in edit location mode, and then save location mode locks it, something like that. We'll think through that. I think there's an optimal interaction that we have not found yet. But where do we put that? To do. Maybe add an edit location state / button. Okay. In the sidebar, we are currently rendering a list item with the text. I think Bootswatch has some like custom list item stuff. Like, let's say I also want to show the description in the list. I think at that point I would probably just use a card. Yeah, I think I would just use a card like this. And then now, instead of a list group, this is just a div. And instead of a list group item, let's see. It's this. So the header would have the spot name. The body would have the text, and this would be spot.description. And then TTB dev, thank you very much for that prime. And then all of this business goes on the div. Like that. Okay. Now, there we go. So now you can see that each one has its description on it, and I think I probably want like a max amount, then with like an ellipses, because then when you click on it, you would see more info. But this is closer to what I want. Also, I don't like this extra scrolling here, so we need to fix that. Like this sidebar, the whole thing needs to have something like width full, height full. So it takes up 100%. But then from there, it allows you to scroll. Yeah. But I don't want this extra area down here. And I guess I don't want height full. I almost want like, I think the container is likely a flex box, and I want this to fill the flex box. Something like that. Let's see how we're doing this. And I also don't want screen height because the nav bar has a certain amount of height. Let's see. So, yeah, we have this main here. And then we have this section, which has the drawer. And that. And then this section with width full, height full is too much. So I need to find that, because that actually doesn't need width full, height full, because that actually takes up more space than the nav bar. I want it to be, I think I want this to be a flex box, and then this, wait. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that? Okay, let's figure this out. So, this main element, I believe, might be in our layout component. Let's see. Yeah. Flex grow 1. And I guess technically I don't want to modify the layout because all of the other pages depend on it. So specifically the dashboard page, let's see what it does. Or the list editing page. It just has the layout. So if I wrap everything in a div, I guess technically I'm already doing that. It's this one. I want to remove the width full, height full. Let's see what that does. We got main, and we have this. No, so I definitely want a flex box that takes up the full area. Yeah, so I mean, this is grow 1. That's perfect because it only takes up that area. And then the scroll is inside of that. So really, I do want main to be a flex box, but I only hesitate because I think it's gonna change the layout of everything. So if I make this flex, and then now the edit page, this div is going to be inside of that flex box. I could make this a flex grow. So it takes its parent. Let's just see what that does. So we've got main. Now the map is below for some reason. Oh, okay. So, overflow auto flex. Overflow hidden. Yeah, that's what I want. Overflow hidden. I do think this is gonna change the layout everywhere else, but we'll fix it. What's up, row 98 low? I write code. So right now I'm working on this Maps app. I am working on some styles like the layout right now, but yeah, I build apps. Sometimes I teach. Sometimes I write code for fun. Like I'll come up with an idea and just try to build it live. This is a project we've been working on for a couple months now. And in a second, I'll show you what it does. So why? Oh, so now this div here needs to be a flex box. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. All right. But this gives us the desired functionality because now when I scroll over here, that doesn't affect the scroll of the entire page. Let's go here. That seems okay. And this doesn't have a scroll bar because there's not enough, so that's great. This, however, doesn't scroll enough. So I did overflow hidden on the parent, and then there's a child of that parent. It's complicated, honestly. But this is an issue because now the sidebar is too high. And I think, yeah, so now the sidebar has height screen. I don't want that. I want it to, really I want it to flex grow. I want it to take up the full width of the Flexbox parent. So that I can scroll to the bottom. Because before, with 100% height, that includes the height of the nav bar. So this thing was the height of the parent. I don't want that, though. I want it to be the height of the area underneath the nav bar. So that fixes our issue there. Cool. But now I can click on these. And it moves to them. However, that gives us, or earlier we had the idea that when you click edit, technically we should put like a form in line. Yeah. 100% is usually of the parent. But in this case, the parent was the full screen height. And Furker, thank you very much for the Prime. Appreciate you. Lots of supports today. Random subs, primes. Thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate all the support. Yeah, honestly, I'll just say this. I don't know. I think so. Like 100% usually applies to the parent. But if the parent, I don't even know what to say there. This fixed it. Obviously, this fixed it. But with or height full is what we had before. Heights. No, okay. I guess that's the issue. Let's try that. If I do height full, I think you're totally right. That actually should have the same behavior as flex grow. It does. Whew. Good. What we know about CSS is true. But height screen specifically sets it to the height of the screen, which included the height of the nav bar, which we didn't want. We want height of the parent, which is height full. Height 100%. Yeah. Yes. So you are correct. Oh, I appreciate that. He says, you're doing great. Thank you. It'd be cool to add map links in the shared view of the list to open up map directions. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, we spent the past 3 hours, and typically these streams I limit to about like 3 to 4 hours, but we spent the entire stream just working on the interactivity and functionality of the map. Like, I like what we got. So now when we click this, we get a little edit form. If we haven't made any changes, we can click cancel. If we had made changes, great park for playing volleyball. Or I'll say this, park has big open areas where people play volleyball. There are 2 lakes you can walk around. Many trees. All right. But now if I click cancel, it's like, whoa, you made some changes. Are you sure you want to do that? And then if I click update, that actually updates it. And you can see the description there as well. I don't know. This is better than when we started today. We definitely have better functionality. There is an issue with the ordering of the list, because I think right now the order of the list is, I guess it probably should be most recently updated is at the top. Let's fix that. And we can do that. We can do that from the API. I think, anyways. Let's see. We have an API endpoint which lets us list all of the spots. Not lists. Oh yeah. This is it. Because that gets one specific spot. But if we look at our database query, so this is our data access layer, we can see right now order by distance. No. we could like order by distance from the center or something like that. I don't know. Eventually we want to have a user defined order, because they might want to have top 10 and then they have like the number 1 at the top of the list. So eventually we'll have user defined. Right now, this is where we handle that. So we select the list, which is in one table, and then all of the spots for that list are in a separate table. So we're using Postgres and we're using a JSON aggregation. But this is where we select the spots for the given list. And here I can do an order by, I believe. Order by, updated at. I don't know if it's by default, if it is ascending or descending, but let's see. It's not. So we want descending. So the most recently updated one should be at the top. That's what I like to see. Yeah. So now if I go in and I edit Highlands Park, a nice spot to eat your lunch, very close to Avanti, which is like a food court. Update. And now the one you just edited is at the top of the list. So this is good enough for now. I think eventually we're going to want an actual order property. Like, let's see if we, on our table, I don't think we have it, but I would want to add an order property, which is just a number. And that would allow the user to say, like, this one goes first, this one goes second, that kind of thing. Avanti. Oh, yeah, I took Alka to Avanti when he visited Denver. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm done for today. I think I'm done. If we look at what I set out to do, I can edit and update spots in the list. Great. Great. We didn't get to actually sharing the list, but that'll be good for next time, because next time we'll allow you to set the list as like published or unpublished or private or public. And then we'll also generate slugs in the database, because right now we have this big, long, ugly ID, but we want to have like a nice human readable URL, so we'll generate those as well. But that's going to be quite a bit of work, like updating the list slug and getting the list updating and then making it shareable. So we'll handle all of that next time. Yeah, so we got one thing done today. All of this stuff is for next time. Day 13, which will be most likely October 14th. We'll handle this other stuff. Yeah, and eventually we could do something like that, Mark Boots. Totally. So basically you could drag this up higher in the list to reorder it. But also when you're on the edit form, there likely will be like a maybe a drop, or there could be a text field where you literally just set the number you want it to be. We also could have like up and down buttons here when you're in edit mode. So yeah. Yeah. Did somebody ask about Deno? we're technically using Deno here. Did I roll my own auth system, cookie sessions? So in a way, I mean, we're using OAuth. So right now, when you click login, that redirects you over to Discord with our client ID and like generated thing. When you click authorize, that redirects back to our app. We are either inserting or updating the user into the database, and then we are setting a cookie with the user ID from our system. So you could say that I rolled my own and that I'm setting a cookie with the user ID. We're not using any session store or anything like that. It's just a cookie. So there's that. We talked about how we want to move away from that, and eventually we'll potentially store user sessions in like a Redis store or something like that. Because right now, cookies, you can see like in the auth callback, we specifically create a signed cookie with the user ID from our database. And then we have a middleware when requests come into the app that, whoa. No, you can't just change it because it's a signed cookie. And so signed cookies have to have been signed with the... Wait, what did I want to look at? Have to have been signed with the specific secret. So if you try to change the value, it'll just kick you out and say invalid cookie. So yeah, specifically because this is a signed cookie, users can't just go modifying cookies and change their user ID. Yeah, I mean, and it took us a while to get this working, and then we ended up using a library that was written by Oscar, who's been helping out, because we couldn't find a straightforward way of creating signed cookies in Deno. There were a couple of libraries, like there's one library called Fresh Sessions, but it uses JSON Web Tokens inside of a cookie. I didn't like that, so I tried to figure out how to use one of the built-in libraries for... Are we not linking to Squishy Cookies? We should definitely link to Squishy Cookies, because that's the library that Oscar wrote. It's super simple. You literally can create signed cookies and verify signed cookies. This is all we wanted to do. There's a library in the Node.js ecosystem that lets you do this. Create a cookie, like sign a cookie, verify a signed cookie. But a library like this didn't exist in the Deno ecosystem. And you couldn't just use the one from NPM because it uses Node Crypto, which isn't fully ported to Deno yet. Okay, yeah, so regardless, Oscar wrote this, and then it made it really easy for us to set cookies. I'm going to add a link in here. Squishy cookies. What is the node one? We found it by looking at Express Session or Express Cookie Session or something like that. So if you're building, Cookie Session. If you're building an Express app, this is an incredibly popular way of adding sessions based on cookies. You can see you can do this. You set the key for your signed cookie. This thing has 200,000 weekly downloads. Great. If you look at what it is dependent on, you can see that it's dependent on a library called cookies. And then this, let's see. I think this has like cookies. Yeah, you can set a cookie. This isn't even the one I was thinking of. I think there's literally, if you look at Express Cookie, this one. Wait. There's no way. Cookie signature. Yes, this library has 22 million weekly downloads, and that's just because there are other libraries in the Node.js ecosystem that are dependent on this library called cookie signature. But look how easy it is: cookie.sign, and then unsign, and then I think there should also be like a verify function too. Sign, unsign. Maybe unsign is verify. Yeah, it is. Yeah. The unsigned technically verifies it, and if it's valid, then you get back the unsigned or the value inside of it. But if it was not signed with the right signature, it returns false. But ultimately, we really just wanted this functionality inside of Deno. But you can see here that it's using Crypto, which is a core Node.js library. And that hasn't been fully ported to Deno yet. They're working on it. And once that gets fully ported, there's actually a lot of Node libraries that only work in Node that will actually start to work in Deno. But, yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm done for today. I'm pretty happy with what we did. I'll deploy the app, and it should... I don't know if there's anything I need to change about the database, but... let's see. I'm going to commit this. Allow, edit, update, spots. And I'm using Deno deploy, so when I push up to GitHub, it should auto deploy. Let's see. Just a second. Yeah, I've broken the main UI. So you can see this is like off to the left a little bit. I forgot to check this, but when we changed the parent to a Flexbox, that changed things. But I should be able to log in. Let's see. Yeah, that seems to work. No errors. And then top 10 pizza shops in NYC. That's trying. I don't know why that took... I mean, it's possible that because it had to query so much from the database, that took so long, but let's see. I've lived in New York and New Jersey before, but I don't remember any pizza place. There's probably a pizza place right there. Good pizza. Add it. Column latitude of relation spot does not exist. That makes sense. That makes sense. I need to rerun our migrations on the deployed backend because we updated the location table to have latitude longitude on it. Cool. Now, I had to completely wipe the database. So if you tried to log into the site, just refresh. You'll have to log in again because I had to wipe the DB. Cool. Let's create a list. Best parks in Denver. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll just add Wash Park, which is a really good park here in Denver. I always forget. Oh yeah, here. This is where I sometimes park. Right there. Washington Park. Also known as Wash Park. This park has plenty of options, or plenty of things to keep you entertained. We can add it. Great, it's there. If I go back to my list, I can edit. Cool, and right now it centers if you just have one spot, so let's add one more so that it's not like way zoomed in when we load the map. City Park, and I usually like to park at City Park near the Denver Museum of Nature and Science because they have a little roundabout, and then the parking over here is decent. So park here. City Park. It's good. Add. Yeah, I'm in Denver. I am. Cool. So now this makes it so that when I go back in, it should be centered around the two. Okay. It works. It's on the deployed site. Feel free to try it out. Hopefully I won't have to drop the database again, so anything you create there should at least be saved, and gradually as we update this thing, we'll make, like, eventually that list will be shareable and stuff like that. Okay. That's it. That's all. let's go on a raid. Best parking spots in Denver. That's another one you could do. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I know there's a lot of people that got to tune in because I don't normally stream on Saturdays, so very glad to have you. Let's go on a raid. Well, before we go on a raid, all the things. Please check out my YouTube. We have a main channel and an archive channel with all the VODs. So definitely check those channels out and subscribe if you would like. Check out my Twitter. We also have a Discord, and we're getting better at actually answering questions. So if you had an unrelated question today and I didn't get a chance to answer it, hop in the Discord. I will try to give you an answer, or somebody in the community will give you an answer as well. Okay, if you're a sub, use that raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. And those of you that joined late, check this out. I didn't get to show you this, but this is a new camera angle for the studio. I guess oh yeah, and then so Alka wasn't here earlier too. Yeah, and then I have my music. That's my music stuff. That's on the other side of the basement. It's happening. It's happening. Though I do want to turn this into a like a join us in the raid scene. Let's do that. And we can have the closing credits. Oh yeah, this is actually going to be great. Let's copy this and then put it on this scene over here below that. Wait. I thought I had a join us in the raid. I do. There it is. Cool. Okay. And then we can also do this. Put a little blur on it so you can't see me and what I'm doing. Okay. It's like the news leaving. Exactly. Alrighty, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I guess I went to that scene. I could have went to this scene. And join us in the raid. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep an eye on the schedule. I'll try to get that updated tomorrow. Change it from box blur to Gation? Sure. Let's see. Filters. Blur. Oh. What's the difference? It's way smoother? Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, like I said, check the schedule. I'll update it tomorrow. There will definitely be a stream this coming Friday where I'll be working on this same app, but we'll have some streams throughout the week where I'm working on other things. All right, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this. So we're heading over to raid the Sushi Dragon. He has an amazing stream, and he's actually doing an IRL stream at TwitchCon right now. So TwitchCon is happening if you didn't know. And he's there. He's on the show floor. So definitely show him lots of love. Drop a follow. And have a good weekend. All right, we'll see you. Let's head over.